So far in this vlog, you will have seen that I went to a little amusement park. It was a lot of fun. I went with my family and they had like Halloween activities going on. It was great. I went through my first haunted house thing in a while. I don't usually like haunted houses much, so I don't go through them, but my siblings forced me to, and it was fine. I feel like, first of all, my imagination runs wild, so I get extra scared, and I don't like the feeling of being scared. I like the feeling of a little creep out, but I don't want, like, horror, fear, like, I don't like to be startled. So, I don't love them. I also, on top of that, kind of end up feeling like because I don't get joy out of being scared, it just feels like a waste of time to me. Like, I'm like, there's so many things I could do that I would enjoy the experience of more than this. So anyway, don't love haunted houses, but it was fun to be there with my siblings, and I guess it was nice to be reminded why I didn't like haunted houses, since it's been a long time since I went through one. And yeah, it was a grand old time. Now today, it's the next day. It is the, oh gosh, what's the date? It's the 15th? Yes, the 15th of October. So this morning I did a little religious activity, and now I'm actually going to go to the bookstore to hopefully pick up some Victorian literature, some more Victorian literature, even though I probably don't need it, but I'm going to grab some stuff. They're having a flash sale at one of the bookstores near me, and I also have a few books that I'd like to get rid of, so I thought I would go today while I have time. Then tonight I'm going to another fallish activity with my family. We're going to, it's like a corn maze, but they also have a lot of activities going on, like a fall festival, Halloween festival type thing that's near my house. So I'll be going to that tonight, and I'll film clips of everything, and then later I will do a little haul of what I got. I also got a few books in the mail that came yesterday, so I'll show those then as well. And then tomorrow I plan to spend the whole day pretty much just reading. I might watch a Victorian film, but pretty much the whole day will be spent reading. So I will let you know what I'm reading then, probably, just because I want to get going to the bookstore so I have time to enjoy it before I have to go to my parents' house to go to the thing this evening. So anyway, I will film some fun clips and let you know, like I said, what I'm reading tomorrow. So it is 4 o'clock on Saturday the 16th, and it's a little later than I was hoping to start this. I ended up having my sister stay the night last night, which was fine, but then I ended up hanging out with her this morning until about almost 2. Then I took her home, and driving home from my parents' house, I ended up hitting some pretty bad traffic, and then I just filmed a couple videos, and now it's 4, and I haven't read anything yet. It was kind of supposed to be my day for reading, but you know, things happen, and I've still enjoyed my day, so it's totally fine. But I thought I'd really quickly show you the books I've gotten recently, both in the little book shopping I did yesterday, as well as a couple books I've gotten online recently that I haven't hauled in anything in the past like month or 2, that I thought I would just mention since I was doing this anyway. So first of all, a couple of books I recently purchased, the first being the Brontë, it's collected poems by Emily Brontë in this Everyman's Library Pocket Poets edition, and I'm really excited to finally have this. I've wanted it for a while, I just haven't taken the plunge and gotten it yet, but I just did, and it was just in time for Victober. Have I read any of it? No, but I'm hoping to read some of Emily's poetry soon. I've read some in the past, so it's not like I've never read any of her poetry before, but now that I'm almost finished with all of the Brontë novels, I figured I may as well get some poetry so I can continue my exploration of the Bronte's works. Then I also recently online picked up The Secret History by Donna Tartt. This is a book that is pretty popular on BookTube and just in general. It's a dark academia that I believe follows students, and one of them ends up dead. Are they murdered? I'm not sure. I really know nothing about this beyond that little bit, and that all of the characters are very dislikable. But I have long been curious about it, unsure about it, but Jennifer Brooks recently reread it and said she loved it, and so that kind of pushed me over the edge to want to give it a shot, so I ended up picking up a copy for myself. Then we have a book I actually pre-ordered a while ago because the paperback version of it was coming out, and I decided it was one that I'm not really sure how I'm going to feel about, so I didn't want to spend all that money on the hardcover. So I pre-ordered the paperback, and it ended up coming within the past month or so, and that is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. I have not read anything by Susanna Clarke. I do really want to try Dr. Strange, Mr. Strange, and Dr. Norrell, something like that. Anyway, that book I would love to try. But this is one that I've heard a lot of mixed things. It did just win the Women's Prize for Fiction for this year, which is part of why I picked it up. It's actually the reason that kind of pushed me over the edge to pick it up, because I wanted to give it a shot and see how I feel about it. But I've heard it's very strange. In fact, I don't even really know what it's about. I know it's about something named Piranesi who lives in this weird house, and that's all I know. I've heard mixed things about it, but I think going into it knowing it's pretty whack will help me enjoy it better, and maybe I'll hate it, who knows, but I am really excited to see how I feel about it. Okay, and then the books I just ordered online in the past week or 2 that ended up coming the other day. First of all, we have a novel about the Balkans by Slavenka Drakulić. I probably did not pronounce that well, but this is a book that Kieran at Katie Books mentioned. He did a review for, and there was just something about it that made me immediately want to go out and buy it, and it was kind of hard to find, so I think that's part of why I ended up just buying it immediately, because it was hard to find and I wanted to make sure I got it because it did sound really intriguing. It sounds like it follows the Bosnian War, and basically we're seeing a lot of the unfortunate events surrounding the experiences of a lot of the women who were prisoners, and it sounds heartbreaking and tragic. It may be too much for me, I'm not going to lie. It sounds like it may get pretty graphic, so I'm not sure if I'll be okay with it. But it did sound like it addressed topics that intrigue me, and so it's one that I decided I wanted to give a try. So I picked up a copy, and hopefully will end up enjoying it whenever I get to it. Then because I got S on Thrift Books, if I spent over $10, then I would get free shipping. So because of that, I decided to pick up a couple of others, starting with Bring Up the Bodies by Hilary Mantel. I have not read Wolf Hall yet, but I do plan to read that very soon, actually. So because I needed to get a little bit more in order to both get free shipping and actually in order to get a free book from Thrift Books, I decided to just pick this up now, especially because The Mirror in the Light, the third one, I could get on Thrift Books for free now, so it worked out very nicely. But yeah, since I knew I was going to get to Wolf Hall and then this not long after, I figured may as well just pick it up now while I can. And then I also picked up The Island of Dr. Moreau by H.G. Wells, which I'm planning on reading actually with David Wiley in November. I have long been very curious about this book. It's not very long, it's actually extremely short, which is always nice. And I'm excited to see what weirdness is going to go on with this book, because I'm pretty sure it's pretty dark and creepy. Okay, so those were all the books I had gotten before. Now we're going to go into the books I got yesterday in my little book haul, starting with the classics. I only got 3 classics on this run just because I did get quite a few Victorian reads before Victober started, so I didn't want to overwhelm myself. So I ended up picking up The Old Curiosity Shop by Charles Dickens. I considered getting this last time I went to that bookstore and didn't, but they still had the copy and I was kind of regretting not picking it up, so I was like, this time I will get it. So I did, and I know nothing about this book, I'm not going to lie, but there's just something about it that intrigues me a lot. I hope I end up really liking this book. I'm trying to find a Dickens novel that I'll just love. This may not be it, but there's just something about the atmosphere when I hear people talk about it that has me intrigued. So we'll see when I can get to this. This is also one of, I don't want to say his shorter works because it's still like over 500 pages in this edition and the writing is not large, but it is shorter than a lot of his other books, so it's kind of a medium length book for him, which anyway, yeah, I'm really excited to read this whenever I can. Then we have another Victorian read, and that is Three Men in a Boat, also by Jerome K. Jerome, and this one I've just heard great things. It's a comedy. That's all I know about this, but I saw it, this was another I saw last time I was in that bookstore and did not end up picking up and kind of regretted it. So this time I picked it up. And last we have another classic, but it's not a Victorian classic. Instead, it's an ancient classic, and that is the Histories by Herodotus. Jennifer Brooks is hosting a read-along of this in November, and I saw that announcement the day I went to the bookstore yesterday. And I saw this on the shelf. It was the exact copy she even held up in her video, and I was like, oh, it must be a sign. Gonna be honest, really genuinely not sure if I'm going to actually get to this in November, just because it's kind of my month where I'm going to be focusing a lot more on projects for school. It's gonna get really crazy with that stuff, and I have other books I do really want to get to that I've been planning for a while to get to for November. So I don't know if I'm going to actually participate in it, but I have this just in case, and I would like to get to it someday anyway, so yeah, we'll just see what happens. Okay, and then I got 4 other books that were non-classics while I was there. The first being Mary Queen of Scotland and the Isles by Margaret George. This Margaret George is an author I really want to try. I actually have 2 of her other books already. And I have long had my eye on this, especially because last year I read Elizabeth I by a different author from Margaret George, but it was a book that was focused on Elizabeth I. It was a fictional work that was from Elizabeth's perspective, and so I thought it would be really interesting to read one from Mary Queen of Scots' perspective, just because of their relationship. So I saw this in this nice hardcover edition. It was 40% off, and it was usually $7.95, so it was only like, what, $4-ish? So I figured, you know what, may as well pick it up since it's here, and it's one I really do want to try. Even if I don't find I like Margaret George's other stuff, I wanted this book beyond just the author. I wanted it for the content as well. So I mean, all of them that I own by her, I want because of the content as well. But this one was a particularly special circumstance, so I figured even if I don't like the other 2 books by her, I'm willing to still give this a shot no matter what, so it was worth the purchase. Another book that's been on my radar for a very long time, and I've just been waiting for the right moment to get it, is The Last Kingdom by Bernard Cornwell. This is a book that I've heard good things about. I know Jennifer Brooks loves this series. And I have just really wanted to pick it up, but I, first of all, didn't want to spend full price on it, so I was kind of waiting till I found it in a used bookstore, and I did not want the movie cover. I really did not want that if I could avoid it, and so I've kind of been waiting to see if I could find a cover that was not the film cover, and that was a good price, and it took forever, but I did finally find it. And so as soon as I saw this, even though I was not planning on getting anything like this when I walked in, I was like, you know what, this is my chance. This is a sign that I need to pick it up now. So I got this copy. I'm excited to read it. Hopefully I'll like it. I don't know if I will, but hopefully I do. And then these last 2 books were ones that have not been on my radar at all, but they just looked intriguing. So first of all, we have Alexander, Child of a Dream by Valerio, Massimo, Manfredi, which is about Alexander the Great. And that's all I know. That's all I need to know. It looks like it says huge international bestseller, so I'm assuming it is probably pretty decent. And I don't know, just the Alexander the Great thing just grabbed me, and I had to have it. And this one was only $3.95, so very cheap, and little mass market paperback edition. And I don't know, hopefully I'll like it whenever I get to it. Okay, and then last but certainly not least, we have The Island of the Day Before by Umberto Eco. Umberto Eco, if you recognize that name, wrote The Name of the Rose, which is a very classic historical fiction type story, kind of a dark academia vibe, and that is one I have not read. I do really want to read that one, and I actually went to the section of the shelf where Umberto Eco would be in order to look for that book, but it was not there, but this one was, so I picked it up to read the synopsis just because I was curious, and I was like, well, I mean, maybe I'd be willing to read this as my first Umberto Eco, and maybe we'll continue to enjoy all of his work from there. So I picked it up and looked at it, and it looks like it's about a man who gets stranded on this ship. He gets shipwrecked and then comes up and lands on this abandoned ship that's near this island that he can't get to. And so it looks like it explores the Baroque era, which is really intriguing to me. The Baroque period, excuse me. And I don't know, there was just something about it that sounded intriguing. This cover is a delight to look at. So yeah, I don't know anything about it. I've never even heard of it, but there was just something that really intrigued me about it. So I bit the bullet and just got it. So anyway, that is my little haul. As far as reading today, in case you haven't seen my last vlog or you don't remember it very well, I'll kind of update you on what I'm currently reading. So I'm currently working on The Professor by Charlotte Brontë. I'm hoping to get a good chunk of this read tonight since I have a little extra time. Will I get much read? I don't know. I do want to try to watch a movie tonight as well. But I want to at least read finish the chapter I was almost done with yesterday and then read 5 more chapters after that, just to keep up to date on what my original plan was, which was to read at least 3 chapters a day. So that's kind of the goal for that. If I read more than that, that's great, but I want to at least read about 5.5-ish chapters. I will say this one I'm not loving just because I don't love the main character. I'll give you more updates on that later, but suffice it to say for now, I'm engaged enough to keep going. I'm not hating it, but I don't like the main character very much. I find him very judgmental and obnoxious. So yeah, we'll just see how things go. Then I'm also working on The Lancashire Witches by William Harrison Ainsworth, and still really enjoying this. This one I also didn't get to what I would usually read yesterday, so if I can read like 40 pages of this today as opposed to 20, which is how much I've been reading normally. That would be great. Although I may just read the 20 and then read The Professor and then see what time it is, because I have split it up to where I don't read on Sundays, just because I prefer not to, but also like I'm okay with reading some Sundays. So I may just read what I was supposed to read yesterday tomorrow on Sunday, since I wouldn't have to read anything on Sunday, if that makes sense. So anyway, we'll be working on that. And then of course I am working on the audiobook for Wuthering Heights and still loving it. I probably won't do any listening to this for a couple of days, just because it's more something I do when I go to and from work. So yeah, so probably won't talk about that for a few days, but yeah, I'm going to get started on reading since it's already almost, this clip's been almost 20 minutes and it's almost 4:30 and I have done no reading today or yesterday. So anyway, we're just gonna get started and I'll update you later. Hi friends, so it is the 21st, Thursday. It's been a few days since I updated you, but I thought I would come on and share a few thoughts since it's been so long. So I have been not exactly in a reading slump, but I've just ended up, so I usually read in the evenings, and I've just ended up being pretty busy a few days, and then a few days just like so tired by the time I get there that I really have had a hard time focusing on reading. Even though I want to, it's just been, I've kind of preferred to watch things, do more mindless things, so it's been kind of hard, but I have done some reading. I have kept up for the most part with the Lancashire Witches, my reading on that. I'm still really liking it. It's definitely probably going to be like a 3.5 star read. It's really exciting. Like I've mentioned before, something happens every chapter. It's crazy. There's a lot of drama, a lot of supernatural aspects. There are several scenes that I feel like were just put in there. Like, they're exciting, but they're just put in there to add more supernatural things, I feel like. So there's definitely a lot of that, but I'm not complaining. Especially reading it slow, I think, helps to just know I'm reading this to get some exciting supernatural stuff, not necessarily focused quite as much on the plot itself. Whereas I almost feel like if I had read it faster, I wouldn't have been able to enjoy the little supernatural moments as much. I don't know if that makes sense, but anyway, really enjoying it. I will say one thing that's kind of bothering me about it is kind of more on a religious level. Like, there's just a lot of discussion of like people almost being forced to become witches, to bow down to Satan basically. And I just can't, I don't believe in a God who would like allow people to be sent to hell when they were forced into that sort of thing, if that makes sense. There's also some discussion of no redemption for these people. Like if there's one person that's discussing wanting to not be a witch anymore, and it's almost like it's impossible for her to do that without being killed for being a witch, if that makes sense, because she's abandoned by Satan, and so she is left to take the consequences and be brought to justice, brought to mortal justice. And yeah, just things like that, that I'm like, I believe in redemption. I believe in the power of choice. And so things like that just kind of grated on my nerves a little bit. I mean, overall, I'm just focusing on the fun aspects of it and the creepiness and just the melodramatic aspects, but that is something that I've just been thinking about also while reading. So definitely an interesting book. I'll definitely share more thoughts once I finish it at the end of the month. Actually, this vlog won't go all the way till the end of the month, so you'll have to see that in my wrap up. But yeah, it's going well. Quickly on The Professor, I don't have my copy near me, otherwise I would hold it up for a second, but I will say I'm surprised by how I'm feeling about The Professor. I honestly did not expect to like it very much, but I'm honestly feeling exactly the same way about it as I did Villette, where I'm enjoying it overall. There are things I don't love about it. I think I want to go back and change my rating of Villette to a 3-star instead of a 4-star, just because, I don't know, it hasn't really stuck with me, and even when I read it, like, I don't know, there were certain things I did really like, but it just didn't stand out to me very much. And so The Professor is a similar experience, but I'm definitely liking it more than I thought I would. It's been pretty readable. It's taken me much longer to read it than it probably should have, just because, like I mentioned, I've kind of been struggling to pick it up, but I'm hoping to finish it tonight. Actually, I only have about like 50 pages maybe left to read, so I should be able to finish it by tonight. And then after that, I was going to read Gothic Tales by Elizabeth Gaskell, but I think I'm not really in the mood to read more Gothic stuff on top of Lancashire Witches. That just doesn't sound like something I'm really interested in reading right now. So I think instead I might actually pick up a Dickens novel. I'm still deciding. I'm going to wait till I finish The Professor and see what mood I'm in, because I've decided I want to the rest of the year mood read. Just mood read the entire rest of the year. I think that will be good, because I've mentioned that work and school has just been pretty exhausting, and I just feel like, readjusting, and my hair was bothering me a little bit, so I just decided to take it out of the little bun I had it in. But anyway, I just feel like with how work and school is going, by challenging myself to read a ton of things and like focusing on specific reading challenges, I'm just making it harder on myself to read, and it's making reading feel more like a chore on top of everything else I'm having to do. And so I just want it to be more relaxed. So I've decided to just start mood reading for the rest of the year. I'll discuss that more in my TBR for next month, but I kind of want to just start as soon as I finish The Professor, especially because I've pretty much finished all of my reading goals for the year. The only thing I really want to make sure I finish is the Henry VI plays, so part 2 and part 3, so I will still be doing that. There is another book I planned to reread that I don't think I'm going to, just because I haven't been in the mood. So anyway, I'm thinking about picking up a Dickens novel, or potentially Silas Marner by George Eliot, or Cranford by Elizabeth Gaskell. Those are the 3 things that are kind of on my radar right now, but we'll see. So I will update you probably tomorrow or the next day once I finish The Professor, and share my thoughts, and then once I decide what I'm going to read after, I will let you know. Hey friends, so it is the next day, the 22nd, Friday, and I wanted to give you a quick update before I head into work. So I did finish The Professor yesterday, and it was really, really good. I actually was surprised by how much I liked it. I still gave it like a 3.5 stars. I can't quite decide which one I want to settle on quite yet. But I ended up, enjoying it a lot more than I thought I would. It's kind of like a combination of Villette and Agnes Grey, actually, by Anne Brontë, I think. There's just a lot of similar atmosphere to those two stories, and the plotting is a little more similar to Villette, but there's some similarities, I think, to Agnes Grey. It's not as good as Agnes Grey, for sure, but it has some similarities. I didn't really love the main character, and I think that was a huge reason why, a huge part that held me back from enjoying it. I think also, I just have realized that Charlotte Brontë had a thing for not great men. Like, she just seems to have had a thing for kind of toxic personalities in men that were just not good. Like, you think about Mr. Rochester, you think about, the Professor, the main character in The Professor, and then the Monsieur Emmanuel in Villette, and just all of them have very similar personalities. And I know, having read the Brontë biography, that that's heavily based likely on her professor from Brussels when she went to study there. And if you're interested in that, definitely look into it. But anyway, he was a married man, and it sounds like he had a similar personality or similar tendencies, and the Brontë biography suggests that these characters were based on him. So it's just very interesting. Very interesting. But I did find the female main character very intriguing. There were a lot of thought-provoking things. I just felt like there was just a lot going on in such a short amount of time, and a lot of characters explored, that I feel like they weren't able to be explored fully. There's like Mr. Hunsden is this friend of the main character who kind of helps him here and there that I would have liked to see a little bit more from. I didn't really feel connected to him. He just kind of would show up randomly. I also felt like the beginning felt kind of pointless. Like, I kind of grasped where it was going, but like what the point of it was, but it just, I don't know, the story just didn't flow very well. Like, I just feel like it was trying to do too many things and explore too many characters. But overall, I mean, I enjoyed it, like I said, more than I thought I would. So that's done. I just was listening to Wuthering Heights more as I drove to work. I'm loving it so much. I think I'm going to change my rating to a 5-star. Originally, I've had it at a 4.5. But it's a 5-star read. It's so good. And I think this time I was just more prepared for some of the parts that usually bore me a bit, and so I was a lot more prepared to enjoy them more than I have before. So yeah, it's been so good. It's just such a haunting, atmospheric story. Every scene, just the way the characters talk and everything, there's just a haunting feeling to it. Also, I will say, being someone who's studying psychology, I think it also is intriguing on that level, just the cycle of abuse and what each of these people are kind of experiencing psychologically. Obviously back then they had a lot less understanding of psychology than we do now, but I do feel like Emily Brontë takes time to really explore these characters psychologically in an interesting way. So that's been great. I don't have much time because like I said, I am at work and I'll need to get in the next minute or so, but I wanted to give you that update. Tonight I'm hoping to finish my portion of the Lancashire Witches, probably read that during my break at work. Sorry I keep tilting you up, but anyway, and I actually decided to start David Copperfield by Charles Dickens. I've literally read the first 2 paragraphs. I'm not really into it at all, but so far I have liked the beginning of it, so we'll see how it goes for me. I definitely won't finish it in Victober, but that's alright. I'll definitely finish Lancashire Witches and Wuthering Heights, so those will kind of be the last books I finish this month, I think, and then yeah, like I said, I'll be reading as much as David Copperfield as I can before November. So yeah, I will update you once I have more to update you on. I may only have one more update after this, but we'll just kind of see how life goes. Hey guys, so I was thinking about doing this later, but I kind of just want to wrap up my vlog. I'm also going to talk a little quiet because my roommates have a friend over and one of them's talking to their sister, who's also one of my cousins. But anyway, I don't want to interrupt them or make them feel concerned that they're interrupting me. So I'm going to talk a little quiet, but I did want to let you know that I finished Wuthering Heights. I was not planning to do that quite so fast, but I did because I couldn't stop listening and it was so good. I brought my rating of it up to 5 stars. I am honestly, I don't know. I think I need to reread Agnes Grey and Tenant of Wildfell Hall to get a more solid idea of my ranking of the Brontë books. I'm still going to do a ranking in November, but since I finished all of the Brontë novels and that was the plan, but I'll probably make very clear in that my ranking could change, or probably will change, possibly will change, I guess, because I do still love both Agnes Grey and Tenant of Wildfell Hall. I'm just not totally sure what order I would put those two and Wuthering Heights in. They're definitely my top 3. Spoiler alert, they're definitely my top 3, but I just love them all so much, and I love Wuthering Heights so much, and I'm so glad that this 3rd read I really absolutely loved all of it. I still feel like the part that bored me before is still probably my least favorite portion of the book, but I appreciated it a lot more now. And it was just so good. As far as the other things I'm reading, Lancashire Witches still going great. David Copperfield, I still haven't read any more of it. I was hoping to tonight, but I think I'm gonna do something else instead, just because it's kind of late and I'm exhausted. I ended up after work, so I worked until 7 today, And then after work I ended up going to hang out with my sister for a little bit because she was having a bit of a day, it sounded like. So just went over there to talk to her and didn't get back till a lot later. So also I haven't been crying or anything. I think my face wash just, I don't know if I rubbed it differently today or something, but it is making me a little extra red. But anyway, so yes, I am still planning to get through David Copperfield, at least a good chunk of it. I still have a week before the end of the month. So in that week, I'm sure I can get a decent amount of it read. So that will be what I'll be working on through that week. And yeah, so I'm going to close out this vlog here. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know down below your thoughts on anything I mentioned in this video, as I'd love to hear. I hope you got something out of this video. I guess the first vlog I did, I feel like I just talked the whole time and there wasn't a lot of other things going on. And this one I feel like there was a lot of like other things like montages and book hauls and stuff, and I didn't talk about my books as much, but I am still enjoying Victober. I'm not really in a reading slump. It's more just, I think I mentioned earlier, I've just been tired. It's been hard for me to read. But I will be using the last week of Victober very well, I promise. So you'll be able to hear my thoughts on that in my wrap up, and I will see you next time. Bye!